Impact of climate change and sustainable agriculture. Impact of climate change and sustainable agriculture. Recently, 17 Sustainable Development Goals were adopted by the member nations of the United Nations. Goal 13 urges countries to take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts following the Conference of Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change in Paris. Member nations of the UN will have to finalize their strategies for making their respective contributions to both adaptation and mitigation of climate change. The areas of special concern to us in India, where agriculture is the predominant source of livelihoods, are unfavorable change in mean temperature, excess or deficit in rainfall, more uncertain weather behavior including extreme weather events, sea level rise, and more frequent and severe coastal storms and tsunamis. Mean temperature and wheat crop. The rise in mean temperature of the order of 2 to 30 C will lead to a reduction in the duration of the wheat crop in North India, resulting in a loss of 6 to 7 million tons of wheat every year. Certain regions of the world like Siberia or northern Canada will benefit from a small rise in temperature, since this will help to prolong the duration of the crop. Thus, climate change will have both common and differentiated impact. In keeping with its policy that India will assist in arriving at a mutually agreed reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, the Government of India had announced on October 1, 2015 the following two major decisions. 1. Reduce by 2030 the emission intensity of the GDP by 32 to 35% from 2005 level. 2. Generate about 40% of electric power installed capacity from non-fossil fuel-based energy resources by 2030, such as nuclear, solar, wind, biomass and biogas. Strategy for facing climate change. Our strategy should be to maximize the production benefits of good monsoons and minimize the adverse impact of climate change. Although the consequences of a rise in temperature and poor or excessive precipitation will be general, the action plans, both for adaptation and mitigation, have to be local. We will have to establish at the Panchayat level, climate risk management centers and train a cadre of community climate risk managers. Climate smart millets. An area where urgent action is needed is the conservation of climate-smart millets and their reintroduction in the diet. Millets and other underutilized crops are more tolerant to drought and heat and are also nutritious. Farming systems for adaptation to climate change will have to be designed by agricultural universities and Krishi Vigyan Kendras and popularized through local men and women trained to become climate risk managers. There will be a need for anticipatory research in several areas of farming which will need change. For example, in crops like wheat and rice, the breeder should shift attention to per day productivity from per crop productivity, since the duration of the crop is likely to get reduced. Preparation for floods and hailstorms. Another area which will require anticipatory attention is the preparation for more frequent floods and hailstorms. Fortunately, genes are available now which can help plants like rice to grow over the flood level. Such elongation genes will have to be introduced in all flood-prone areas. The greatest challenge will be coastal areas, since we have nearly 7,500 kilometers of shoreline, as well as the Andaman and Nicobar and Lakshadweep group of islands. In these areas, mangrove forests should be conserved and their area be increased. Mangroves serve as bioshields. Alternative places of living. Another consequence of sea level rise will be the need for finding alternative places of living to those who are living near the sea. Planning will have to start to provide suitable places to live to such climate refugees. There is also need for agriculture to make a contribution to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Several steps can be taken by the local climate risk management centers with the active participation of local communities. Involvement of women is particularly important since they suffer the most from the adverse impact of climate change, as for example in areas like collecting drinking water, fuel wood, fodder etc. Hence, all the programs relating to climate change adaptation and mitigation must be gender sensitive. Mitigation steps. Among the mitigation steps which can be taken, reducing deforestation and promoting afforestation in a people-centered manner will help to reduce the CO2 burden in the atmosphere. Methane, which is another greenhouse gas, can be used to promote biogas plants. This will help to both prevent methane accumulation in the atmosphere and at the same time, provide fuel and fertilizer to the fauna. Nitrous oxide emissions as a result of fertilizer application can be reduced through the use of neem-coated urea. In fact, at the local level, the most effective method of contributing to low-carbon development pathway is the principle, a biogas plant, few fertilizer trees and a fan pond in every farm. The climate risk managers at the local level should be both rural women and men. They can be the leaders in promoting climate-smart farming systems which should include pulses among the crops. Pulses can help to fix nitrogen in the soil and at the same time provide protein-rich food. Along the coast, there is now a possibility for mobilizing information technology. For example, mobile phones can be used to provide information to small-scale fishermen, data on wave heights from different distances from the shoreline, as well as information on where the fish are. Such fisher-friendly applications of the internet and mobile telephony can help to serve as transformational agents in the areas of artisanal fisheries. Small-scale fishermen got particularly afraid following the Titanic tsunami of December 26, 2004, but they now go with great confidence in their small boats to do ocean fishing. Conclusion. Climate change can be a mega catastrophe if we do not take action now, both in the area of adaptation and mitigation. Anticipatory preparation to potential changes in temperature, precipitation and sea level can help to introduce new technologies in farming. The technological transformation of small-scale agriculture and fisheries can be a beneficial outcome. Climate change has already increased the volatility of prices of agricultural commodities. In the future, it will be difficult to import food grains at an affordable price. Therefore, the future will belong to the nations with grains and not guns. An uncommon opportunity now exists for converting a potential calamity like climate change into a tool for achieving the goal of sustainable agriculture.